So, a new federal directive, heavily influenced by the Trump administration's America First agriculture policy, has led to a sweeping ban on the import of 12 specific food items from Trinidad and Tobago. Citing concerns over, invasive species, non-compliant preservatives, and unapproved agricultural practices, these items are now illegal to bring into the United States for personal or commercial use, with enforcement, varying by state. Here is what is now banned. Let's start with a fruit that's beloved in Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean. Fresh châtain, also known as bread nut. This unique fruit is a staple in many traditional dishes, prized for its starchy seeds and nutty flavor. In local markets, you'll often see châtain sold whole or already prepared, ready to be cooked into curries or roasted as a snack. For many Caribbean families, châtain is more than just food. It's a symbol of home, comfort, and shared meals. Whether it's served at a family gathering or enjoyed as a simple street snack, châtain holds a special place in the hearts of those who grew up with it. However, despite its popularity back home, bringing fresh châtain into the United States is strictly prohibited, no matter how tempting it might be to pack some in your suitcase for a taste of nostalgia. The reason for this ban is rooted in agricultural safety. U.S. Customs enforces strict prohibitions on the import of fresh tropical seeds and fruits that could potentially sprout or carry hidden pests. Châtain seeds, if introduced into American soil, could disrupt local ecosystems or introduce diseases that threaten native crops. Customs officers are trained to spot and confiscate these items at airports and border checkpoints, and travelers found with them may face fines or have their goods destroyed. The U.S. Department of Agriculture takes these risks seriously, as even a single contaminated seed could have far-reaching consequences for American agriculture. The introduction of a new pest or disease could cost millions in crop losses and require extensive eradication efforts. So, while it may seem harmless to bring a few seeds or a fresh fruit for personal use, the potential impact is significant enough that customs simply can't take the risk. Next on the list is fresh or frozen pomerac, also known as Otaheite apple. This vibrant, juicy fruit is a favorite in Caribbean households, often enjoyed fresh, in salads, or as a refreshing juice. Its crisp texture and sweet tart flavor make it a seasonal treat that many look forward to. In Trinidad and Tobago, pomerac trees are a common sight in backyards, and the arrival of pomerac season is eagerly anticipated by both children and adults. The fruit is often shared among neighbors, and recipes for pomerac chow or homemade jams are passed down through generations. For many, the taste of pomerac instantly brings back memories of childhood, family gatherings, and the simple joys of island life. Unfortunately, pomerac is banned from entry into the U.S. because it can harbor the Caribbean fruit fly, a serious agricultural pest. The larvae of this fly can hide inside the fruit, and if introduced, could devastate fruit crops across the country. To prevent this risk, customs authorities have placed a blanket ban on fresh and frozen pomerac, regardless of where it was grown. The Caribbean fruit fly is notorious for its ability to infest a wide range of tropical fruits, and once established, it is extremely difficult to eradicate. The U.S. has invested heavily in protecting its fruit industry, and the ban on pomerac is just one example of the measures taken to keep invasive pests at bay. Even if the fruit looks perfect on the outside, there's no way to guarantee that it is free from hidden larvae, so the safest option is to prohibit it entirely. Third, we have fresh mangoes, but not just any mangoes, specifically the Julian starch varieties, which are especially popular in Trinidad and the wider Caribbean. These mangoes are known for their rich flavor, smooth texture, and unique aroma, making them a sought-after delicacy for those who grew up with them. The Julie mango in particular is famous for its small size, deep orange flesh, and intense sweetness, while the starch mango is prized for its firm texture and subtle tartness. In the Caribbean, mango season is a time of abundance, with families gathering to enjoy the fruit in every form imaginable. From fresh slices to spicy mango chow and even homemade mango ice cream. For many, the thought of not being able to bring these beloved varieties to the S is a real disappointment, especially when they want to share a taste of home with friends and family abroad. The ban on these mangoes is due to concerns about seed weevils, a type of insect not found in the United States. These pests can burrow into the seeds and go undetected, posing a threat to American agriculture if they were to spread. As a result, even if the fruit looks perfect on the outside, it's not allowed past customs. The seed weevil is a tiny but destructive insect that can hitch a ride inside the mango seed, remaining hidden until it emerges to infest new areas. The U.S. has strict protocols for inspecting imported fruits, but the risk of missing a single infested seed is too great. This is why only certain varieties of mangoes from approved regions are allowed into the country, and even then, they must meet rigorous inspection and treatment standards. Unfortunately, the Julie and starch varieties have not been cleared for import, so they remain on the list of banned items. Fourth on our list is fresh sour sop, also called graviola. This spiky green fruit is cherished for its creamy, tangy pulp and is often used in juices, desserts, and traditional remedies throughout the Caribbean. Soursop is celebrated not only for its unique flavor but also for its supposed health benefits, with many people using it in teas and tonics believed to boost immunity and promote wellness. In Caribbean markets, soursop is a prized find, and its distinctive aroma can draw a crowd from blocks away. Whether blended into a smoothie, churned into ice cream, or simply eaten with a spoon, soursop is a true tropical delight that many wish they could bring with them when traveling abroad. The U.S. prohibits the import of soursop leaves, seeds, and fresh fruit due to concerns about ananaceous acetogenins, compounds found in the plant that can be toxic in high amounts, and the risk of introducing agricultural pests. Customs takes these risks seriously, and any attempt to bring in soursop can result in confiscation and penalties. In addition to the chemical concerns, soursop is susceptible to a range of pests and diseases that are not present in the U.S., and introducing them could have devastating effects on local agriculture. The ban extends to all parts of the plant, including leaves and seeds, which are sometimes used in traditional remedies. Travelers should be aware that even small amounts of soursop, whether fresh or dried, are subject to seizure at the border. The rules are clear. To protect American crops and consumers, soursop must stay behind. Finally, we have fresh piwa, also known as pupunha, or palm fruit. This small orange fruit is a seasonal favorite in Trinidad, often boiled and eaten as a snack or used in savory dishes. Piwa is celebrated for its rich, buttery texture and slightly nutty taste, making it a unique addition to Caribbean cuisine. During piwa season, markets are filled with the vibrant color of these fruits, and families gather to prepare them in traditional ways. For many, piwa is a taste of childhood and a reminder of festive times spent with loved ones. The entire fresh fruit is banned from entering the U.S. due to phytosanitary restrictions. These rules are in place to prevent the introduction of pests and diseases that could harm American palm species and other crops. The U.S. has a long history of battling invasive species, and palm fruits like piwa are considered high risk because they can carry pests that are not present in North America. Even though it may be disappointing for travelers who want to share a piece of their heritage, these regulations are designed to protect the environment and the agricultural industry. So, while these fruits are a taste of home for many, they must stay behind when traveling to the United States. If you're ever unsure about what you can bring, it's always best to check with customs before you travel, because when it comes to protecting American agriculture, every traveler plays a part. Sixth on our list is unpasteurized coconut water, a beloved drink in Trinidad and many other tropical countries. Locals often enjoy it straight from the coconut, savoring its refreshing taste and natural electrolytes, especially on hot days or after a long day's work. The ritual of stopping by a roadside vendor, watching them expertly slice open a green coconut, and sipping the cool, slightly sweet water is a cherished part of daily life for many Trinidadians. It's not just a drink, it's a cultural experience, a symbol of island hospitality, and a source of pride for local producers. However, when it comes to bringing this beverage into the United States, there are strict regulations in place that many travelers may not be aware of. The U.S. requires all imported coconut water to be pasteurized and certified by approved facilities to ensure it is free from harmful bacteria and pathogens. Pasteurization is a process that heats the liquid to a specific temperature to kill off any dangerous microorganisms, making it safe for consumption over long distances and storage periods. Unfortunately, most coconut water from Trinidadian vendors and small producers does not meet these standards, as their facilities lack the necessary US-approved pasteurization certification. This means that even if the coconut water looks and tastes perfectly fine, it is still banned from entry at US borders. Customs officers are trained to spot and confiscate these products, no matter how tempting they may be. Even if you try to bring in just a single bottle for personal use, it will likely be seized at the airport. The rules apply to both commercial shipments and personal quantities, so it's important to be aware before you pack that bottle in your suitcase. The main concern is public health, as unpasteurized beverages can carry dangerous microorganisms that may not be visible to the naked eye. These can include bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, or even viruses that thrive in moist environments. The US takes food safety very seriously, and the risk of introducing a foodborne illness through an unregulated product is simply too high. That's why Customs and Border Protection officers are so vigilant about checking for proper certification. If you're ever in doubt, always check for proper certification before attempting to bring coconut water into the country. It's not just about following the rules, it's about protecting the health of everyone who might come into contact with these products. And remember, even if you see coconut water for sale in US stores, those brands have gone through rigorous testing and approval processes to ensure their safety. Seventh, we have Cerasee, which is also known as bitter gourd, or melon. This plant is popular in Caribbean households for its use in teas, tonics, and traditional remedies. People use it for its supposed health benefits, such as detoxifying the body, lowering blood sugar, and treating various ailments. In Trinidad, and across the Caribbean, Cerasee tea is a staple in many homes, often brewed by elders and passed down through generations as a natural cure-all. However, in any form, whether fresh, dried, or as a supplement, it is banned from entering the US. This includes loose leaves, pre-packaged tea bags, capsules, and even bottled extracts. Many travelers are surprised to learn that even small amounts for personal use are not allowed, and customs officers are trained to recognize Cerasee in all its forms. The ban is strictly enforced, so it's best to leave this traditional remedy behind when traveling to the United States. The reason for this ban is twofold. First, Cerasee is considered an unapproved herbal supplement by the FDA, meaning its safety and efficacy have not been established. The FDA requires extensive scientific studies before any herbal product can be approved for import, and Cerasee simply hasn't met those standards. Second, as a plant, it poses a risk of becoming invasive and disrupting local ecosystems if seeds or plant material were to take root in US soil. Invasive species can outcompete native plants, spread rapidly, and cause significant ecological and economic damage. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is especially cautious about preventing the introduction of new plant species that could threaten crops or natural habitats. So, while Cerasee may be a cherished part of Caribbean culture, it's one of those items that simply can't cross the border. Eighth on the list is carapa, a unique local seasoning salt that's a staple in Trinidadian cuisine. Carapa is prized for its distinctive flavor, which comes from a blend of minerals and natural salts harvested from specific regions in Trinidad. It's used to season meats, fish, and vegetables, and is often found in home kitchens and local markets. For many Trinidadians, carapa is more than just a seasoning. It's a taste of home, a reminder of family meals and festive gatherings. However, it contains specific minerals that are not approved for use in food products by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. These minerals may be naturally occurring, but if they haven't been evaluated and approved by the FDA, they are considered unsafe for consumption in the U.S. This is especially true for imported products, where the source and purity of ingredients can be difficult to verify. The FDA has strict guidelines on what mineral additives are allowed in food, and carapa's composition unfortunately violates these rules. The agency tests imported food products for a wide range of substances, and any product that contains unapproved minerals or exceeds safe levels is automatically banned. As a result, it is not permitted for import, no matter how authentic or delicious it may be. Even if you're tempted to bring back a small jar as a souvenir or gift, it's likely to be confiscated at customs. The rules are in place to protect consumers from potential health risks, and there are no exceptions for traditional or artisanal products. So, if you want to enjoy the flavors of Trinidad in the US, it's best to look for approved alternatives or try recreating the taste with locally available ingredients. Ninth, certain bulk packaged ground provisions such as Eddos and Tania also known as malanga, are banned from entry. These root vegetables are a staple in Caribbean cooking, used in soups, stews, and side dishes, and are often brought back by travelers hoping to share a taste of home with friends and family in the U.S. However, when shipped in bulk, they often carry soil and organic matter that can harbor pests or diseases. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is especially cautious about soil contamination risks, as introducing foreign soil can threaten American agriculture. Soil can contain insect eggs, plant pathogens, and other organisms that are not present in the U.S., and even a small amount can have serious consequences for local crops. That's why customs officers carefully inspect all shipments of root vegetables and will confiscate any that are not properly cleaned and certified. So, if you're thinking of bringing these provisions back from Trinidad, be aware that customs will likely confiscate them to protect local crops and ecosystems. It's always best to check the latest regulations before you travel, and when in doubt, leave these items behind to avoid disappointment at the border. 10th, homemade or non-commercial pepper sauce that lacks certification from a USDA-approved facility and proper ingredient labeling is not allowed. 11th, paratha roti, including dalpuri and similar types, if it contains ghee or butter that isn't sourced from a USDA-approved supplier, is also banned. 12th, black pudding, also known as blood sausage, is strictly prohibited under USDA regulations against the import of blood-based food products. So, let's talk about the states with the strictest enforcement when it comes to food import bans, especially those affecting Trinidadian products. Across the United States, enforcement varies widely, but there are a handful of states that stand out for their rigorous approach. These states are not just following federal guidelines, they're often going above and beyond, implementing their own additional checks and penalties to prevent banned foods from slipping through the cracks. The landscape of enforcement is shaped by a mix of local priorities, resources, and the unique demographics of each state. In some places, the presence of large Caribbean communities or proximity to major ports of entry has led to a heightened focus on food imports, while in others, agricultural interests and concerns about invasive species drive stricter policies. This patchwork of enforcement means that Trinidadian families and exporters must navigate a complex and often unpredictable system, where the rules can change from one state to the next, and even from one airport or border crossing to another. California and Florida, for example, have some of the most aggressive agricultural inspection programs in the country. At the California border, you'll find dedicated inspection stations where vehicles are stopped and checked for any agricultural products, including those beloved Trinidadian foods. These checkpoints are staffed by inspectors trained to spot even the most innocuous-looking items that could pose a risk to local agriculture. In Florida, customs agents at airports and seaports are known for their thoroughness, often using advanced scanning technology and even sniffer dogs to detect prohibited items. The process is not just about catching obvious violations. Agents are trained to look for foods that might be hidden in luggage, mislabeled, or even disguised as something else. If you're caught with banned foods in these states, the consequences can be immediate and severe. Fines are issued on the spot, and the items are usually confiscated and destroyed right away, with little room for negotiation or appeal. In some cases, repeat offenders can even face criminal charges or be placed on watch lists, making future travel more difficult. The message is clear. These states take food import bans seriously, and they have the resources and determination to enforce them. Over in Texas and Arizona, the focus is on the land borders and major ports of entry. Customs and Border Protection officers here receive specialized training to identify banned agricultural products, including those that might be disguised or mislabeled. They use a combination of experience, technology, and sometimes even intelligence from previous seizures to spot suspicious shipments. The process is systematic and thorough, and officers are empowered to question travelers, inspect luggage, and even detain individuals if they suspect a violation. These states are key entry points for goods coming from Latin America and the Caribbean, so enforcement is especially tight. In recent years, Texas and Arizona have invested in new detection technologies, such as handheld scanners and mobile X-ray units, to help officers identify prohibited foods more efficiently. There are also regular training sessions and briefings to keep officers up to date on the latest smuggling tactics and trends. For travelers and importers, this means that even the smallest infraction can lead to significant consequences, and the risk of having goods seized is ever present. The authorities here are not just enforcing the law, They're actively working to stay one step ahead of those who might try to circumvent it. In New York and New Jersey, enforcement takes on a slightly different character. While JFK and Newark airports are major hubs for international arrivals and see a high volume of Trinidadian travelers, the authorities here have started to expand their focus beyond just the airports. There's a growing trend of secondary checks and surprise inspections in neighborhoods with large Caribbean populations, especially during cultural festivals or holiday seasons when the import of traditional foods tends to spike. This has led to increased anxiety among Trinidadian American communities, who feel that their cultural practices are being unfairly targeted. Community leaders have voiced concerns about the impact of these enforcement actions, arguing that they create an atmosphere of suspicion and fear. Some families have reported being visited by officials at their homes or businesses, asked to provide proof of purchase or documentation for food items, or even having their gatherings disrupted by unannounced inspections. The sense of being watched or singled out has led to a growing mistrust of authorities, and some community members have begun to avoid public celebrations or limit the foods they share with friends and neighbors. For many, the enforcement measures feel less like a matter of public safety and more like an intrusion into their private lives and cultural traditions. The impact of these enforcement measures is profound. For Trinidadian families living in the United States, these bans mean losing access to cherished foods that are central to their identity and traditions. Imagine preparing for a family gathering or a holiday celebration, only to find that the key ingredients for your favorite dishes are unavailable or have been confiscated at the border. It's not just about food, it's about connection, memory, and a sense of belonging. The absence of these foods can make celebrations feel incomplete, and for children growing up in the diaspora, it can mean losing touch with the flavors and stories that connect them to their heritage. Small exporters in Trinidad are also feeling the pinch. Many of them rely on the U.S. market to sustain their businesses, and the sudden loss of access has led to financial hardship, layoffs, and uncertainty about the future. Some exporters have tried to adapt by seeking new markets or changing their product lines, but the transition is not easy. The loss of income has ripple effects throughout their communities, affecting farmers, packers, and transport workers who depend on the export trade. For both families and businesses, the bans represent not just a regulatory hurdle, but a profound disruption to their way of life. Ultimately, these enforcement actions reframe important cultural staples, not just as foods, but as potential biosecurity threats. This shift in perception can be deeply unsettling for those who see these foods as a vital link to their heritage. It raises difficult questions about how to balance national security with cultural preservation, and whether there might be a better way to protect both public health and the rich tapestry of immigrant traditions that make America unique. As the debate continues, some advocates are calling for more nuanced policies that recognize the cultural significance of certain foods and provide pathways for safe, legal importation. Others are working to educate both authorities and the public about the importance of these foods, hoping to foster greater understanding and respect. What's clear is that the issue goes far beyond the contents of a suitcase or a shipping container. It touches on questions of identity, belonging, and the kind of society we want to build. For Trinidadian Americans and their loved ones back home, the hope is that a balance can be found, one that keeps communities safe, but also keeps cherished traditions alive for generations to come. If you want to understand how to navigate these new restrictions and learn what alternatives are out there, you need clear, updated information. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss any of our essential guides and updates.